Welcome to today's podcast from Quilting Central Podcast. We're so excited about this one because this one is a great topic and every quilt kind of needs one part of this, don't you think, guys?
Yeah. I'm Angie Dugan from the Quilting Connection.
I'm Julie from Two Chicks Quilting.
And I'm Cathy from Fabric Bash. And today's topic, very exciting topic, is batting.
Batting. Woo!
Yeah, let's get down to the thick of it, y'all.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. So batting is something that we are all very passionate about. We want to share some tips and tricks with you guys on different feels and different sources. So we'd love to dive in. Julie, I know you've got some history of batting, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, batting actually has a birthday. So batting was introduced in the early 1900s. Before that, the commercial quilt batting was introduced in the early 1900s. They had things that they used for the purpose of what we use batting for now, which is to make our quilts warmer, thicker. But they used things like old clothes, old blankets that maybe were worn out or had a hole in it. And so they used that in the middle of their quilts. Even newspaper they used as fillers back before commercial batting was made. And as we all know, by looking at those older quilts that we've inherited over the years, that batting, the original batting, it kind of turned loose from itself. So you'll see it in these older quilts like separated and wadded up in different areas or just totally falling apart. Thank goodness we've come a long way in the production side of batting. So we see it last a lot longer now than what it used to for different reasons. So
yeah.
All right. We even have recycled batting now.
Yeah. And I have, I just pulled up some fun facts about batting. And one of the things talking about recycled batting is it takes 10 recycled water bottles to make enough batting for a quilt. So if you're using the recycled batting, now that is polyester.
Right.
So, there's a lot of different kinds of batting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I feel like quilters, especially newer quilters and even experienced quilters, don't put a lot of thought into. So when you are finishing your quilt, that's one thing that you've got to think about is what am I going to do with it? Who's going to have it? Am I gifting it to somebody that doesn't know how to care for it? And what are they doing with it? Is it cover up on the couch? Is it to hang on the wall? Before you pick what batting, you kind of need to answer those questions.
Yes, especially that wall hang. When I went through training with Don Kavanaugh a while ago, found out that batting has a grain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, see, it's ever so slight, but you want to make sure if you're hanging that up that you put the tougher side, the side that's harder to move, so it hangs down, so you don't get that sad little ripple.
And I find too, as the long arm quilter, I feel like a lot of our customers are looking to us to help them decide what type of batting to use too. So really, I kind of learned more about battings just by trying them myself. So making a quilt that I was going to use on my bed and experimenting with those different types of batting so then I could help my customers make those decisions for who it's going to be for, or not who it's going to be for, but what it's going to feel like after it's been used and after it's been washed a couple times, because when you wash batting, it's definitely going to have a different feel to it. So let's start with cotton batting. I feel like that is probably one of the most popular battings. Julie, want to tell us some history about cotton batting or some fun facts?
We can start with the cotton batting from the farm to the, to your quilt, like
farm to table.
Right across the street from my house is a cotton field. And this year it's a cornfield, but they switch it from cotton to corn every few years. And cotton is a huge crop here in the South. And it is, they pick it. I've always find it fascinating for people that don't live in the South and actually see cotton grown in the field. They now have these huge mechanical pickers that go through the field and pick the cotton, and they roll it in these huge round bales, like a hay, but like the round hay bales, and it goes to the gin and is processed. Then they take the cotton. Now, here's a little fun fact: the longer staples of cotton, the highest grade of cotton, is usually gone to make our fabric. So the leftovers are kind of used to make batting. Now, we have a friend that we buy batting from that actually goes to the plant to pick it up, and Angie and I think Cathy even buys batting from them. He had a video one time and showed us that has just thousands of needles of how it is actually taken in those, raw form and put into to produce the batting. So we'll go into that later, but the leftover parts from making our nice quality, high quality fabric and threads, because thread is also made from those long staples, is put into the batting. And then they, it goes through these huge machines with thousands of needles punching it to produce the batting that we end up with to put in our quilts. The 100% cotton, as well as the blends, anything that's blended with cotton. So.
Mm-hmm. And cotton batting is usually going to feel really soft. It's going to feel really breathable because it's that natural fiber. And 100% cotton will also be the one that's going to get a little crinkly after you wash it too. So if you want something with like that antique look, cotton batting is great for that. It's moderate warmth, I would say.
It shrinks. Cotton batting shrinks more than anything with that added polyester to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would also say for those, because I really think like every quilt kind of needs some batting. So if you want something that's very breathable, that's where you're going to want to put that cotton batting. So even those summer quilts, because it breathes, but it gives a little bit, because just trying to put 2 layers of fabric together to get that tension right on the long arm is really a struggle. If you can just even find a very thin cotton batting, you're going to be even a little bit better on that tension.
Yeah. And then let's also talk, a lot of cotton battings are going to have a scrim on them too, to help bond those fibers together. That scrim is just like a thin layer of stabilizer or interfacing, and it's only going to be on the one side of the batting. So a lot of the times we always tell customers, take like the corner of the batting and start to peel that apart and see if you can find that layer of that scrim or interfacing. And your scrim should always be touching your backing fabric, because that scrim is like the last line of defense for our long arm needles, or even your domestic sewing machine needle, from preventing that batting from pushing through your backing fabric. So the scrim helps keep those fibers together and prevents it from pushing through your backing. I always like to tell people too, if you look at how batting is folded, whether it's on the roll or folded in the package, they're always going to put the good side, the right side of the batting, facing out. So then that wrong side is going to be touching together just like your bolts of fabric are, and that scrim is going to be on that wrong side of the batting too.
So the scrim, if you have cotton batting that does not have scrim, I like to always point out too, it is very delicate. So it's almost like pulling a cotton ball apart. Mm-hmm. So if you're using a cotton batting that does not have scrim, and as you're handling it on your long arm or just quilting on your domestic or however you're using it, you have to be very gentle with it because it can just pull apart.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do? Like, how do you fix that if it does start to pull apart?
Yeah. I prefer just not to use it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes. It's difficult. I don't want to do.
Yeah. So scrim is very important. If you are using the 100% cotton battings, make sure that it does have that scrim on it.
All right.
Yeah. So then let's go to blend. Blend. Yeah. Cathy, you want to talk about blend batting? What do you like about that?
I thought of something important. Going back to who are you making this for?
Sure.
100% cotton batting is a little more You need to pay attention to how you launder things a little better. And it's not as going into the blends, it's not as, I guess, forgivable when wash and dry and all that stuff. So you have to think about if you're giving this quilt to somebody that is, it's for a donation. You don't know, how that quilt's going to be laundered. You want to make sure that you're using something that's friendly for them. Cotton batting's probably not your best choice in that aspect.
And sorry, I thought about one more thing to mention too. So I also will ask my customers if I'm quilting for them, did you pre-wash your fabrics? Did you wash your fabrics for your quilt top? Did you wash your backing? If we're going to put 100% cotton batting in there, they're going to shrink differently. So I have also pre-washed batting, 100% cotton batting for my customers too. And I just let it soak in my front loader and then spin it out and then air fluff dry it in the dryer too. And that'll help take some of the shrinking out. It's still going to shrink when you wash it, but then at least everything's been pre-washed once. Do you find that same with you guys too?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing that, but
Angie, you're a special girl.
Attention to Chicks Quilting customers, do not expect me to pre-wash your batting.
Sorry, Julie.
It's a saint if she's going to do that. But you're right, like, because that fabric's already shrunk because you pre-shrunk it. And
right.
So if you don't pre-shrink that batting, you put it all together, that crinkle is going to be probably, 2 times what it normally would be. And it would distort the quilt top quite a bit.
Right. Right. That's why I like blends.
Good transition.
There we go. 80-20. We love 80-20. So 20% polyester, 80% cotton, because it gives that little bit of a little bit of both worlds, but yet some more stability as we're handling it, a little bit more strength as we're working, especially when you get into those big king size quilts and you're taking that batting, because batting is just ever so delicate. I feel like we got to be very careful and take our time when we're dealing with batting and not rush.
Yeah. And it's the most versatile. So you can use it for donation quilts. You can use it for gifts. You can use it for, it's warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It's, to me, the most versatile. That's what we use on all our customer quilts unless they ask differently. And we talk about it if it's something special that they've told us that they're doing with it. But yeah, I feel like the most versatile batting out there is that 80-20 blend.
It's usually more the most economical as well.
Yeah,
well,
cotton batting.
Besides some polyester, but we'll get there when we talk about poly.
Yeah. Cotton batting is going to be thinner, and then having that polyester added into that blend, 80-20 is usually going to be a little bit more lofty than like your standard 100% cotton batting too. So you get a little more density when you're quilting it as well. We should talk about too quilting density with the type of battings that we're using too. So like 100% cotton, because it is thinner, I feel like that is a little better to use if you are wanting to do micro quilting, real tight, dense quilting. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, the more quilting you put on any batting, the less warm it's going to be.
Right. Because you're putting more of your needle marks. You're putting more needle marks in all of that fabric.
And that batting holds air. So it holds those air pockets. And when you quilt all the air pockets out, the air pockets are what keep you warm. But if you quilt all those air pockets out, it's not going to keep you as warm. But
it's sure going to be pretty, though.
It is going to be pretty. But that goes back to, what are we using that quilt for?
Yes. Right.
But yes, I like the fact that, the cotton batting does lend itself to be great for those, really tight quilting type projects that you're custom quilting, that's more of a, I'm just looking at this quilt type project.
Yeah. And then Cathy, do you want to talk just a little more about the grain, what you meant by that, if we are going to custom quilt something to hang on the wall?
I have something here. I don't know if it's going to be able to be seen, but what I do, on this is, again, thank you to Dawn Kavanaugh, the most amazing quilter ever. If any of you ever get to meet her, I've been actually so blessed to even like take classes from her and work with her. So she's like the most amazing woman in the whole world. What I like to do, because like sometimes like this piece is a scrap that just came off of a bolt, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna see if I can get close to you. I take my fabric, my batting here, and I'm just gonna like just pull like my normally I do with my fabric. You can see this side doesn't move as much as this side, right? Can you guys see that right there?
Yeah, that's great.
So this is where I would put this side down because this is the tighter, it's tighter this way. Whereas this is going to cause, if I put the wall hanging this way, I could have some fluffy ruffles in there. And I do have one of mine that is like that. So let me back up so I'm not in everybody's face. But anyway, it's just you got to be very gentle when you do that because again, batting to me is a little bit is very delicate.
So as you're looking at your quilt and you're looking at the length of your quilt, what's going to be your top and what's going to be your bottom, you want that batting direction to be the tighter side.
Yes.
Saying, okay.
Perfect. Thank you for repeating it a different way. I love that.
Sometimes we all have to hear it different.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's just it's a great fact that I like talking about because a lot of people don't think about. We think about grain on our fabric, but not necessarily our batting.
Mm-hmm. Great tip. Good job, Cathy. Thank you. So we had 100% cotton. We have a blend with the polyester. And Julie, I think you've got a fun fact about 100% polyester batting. Tell us about that.
100% polyester batting is born in a beaker. It is a synthetic fiber made from petroleum-based chemicals. So again, in our area of the country here in Texas, we have a lot of petroleum plants. So they end up making the little pellets that turn into a ton of different things, you know. So it's all melted down and then it's pulled into long fibers, basically a plastic spaghetti, and then it's turned into fluff. So it does lend to the fact that it makes it stronger. It resists bunching. It holds its shape. It doesn't shrink. It's great for tied quilts. And when you want that puff. So Angie mentioned the word loft earlier, and I think we need to define the word loft. But that's how thick it is, how fluffy it is. And so your polyester batting is going to give you that extra loft if that's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And I love that polyester batting doesn't shrink. When you quilt it, it is not going to shrink. It's not going to give you that antique look. It's going to stay the size you made it.
But can we talk about quality of poly batting?
Oh, yes.
Okay, because this is where you're going to see the biggest difference in quality. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a reason if you were spending all this time piecing this quilt and you were, buying all of the fabric and the backing and all that good stuff. I have seen poly batting as we unfold it, having thick, thin, almost no batting at all. And as we try to quilt that, there's going to be so many tension issues because it's not consistent. So you want to look for a good, consistent polyester batting.
And consistent no matter what the type. Because I've seen thin or thick 80/20 and 100% cotton too. Right. So really checking that consistency. And that's why I hate prepackaged batting. Because you don't get to really check that consistency of it unless you're buying it from, your quilt shop.
And so if you're buying the batting from us, we're not going to carry.
Right.
Yeah. We open up and we see that inconsistency in. Yeah. So make sure that you're buying from a knowledgeable source.
Yes.
We talk sometimes about the big box and they don't look at that. They're not quilters. They don't know what that is. They just see batting. I need this batting in this department and this is the lower priced one. So that's what we're going to carry. Yeah. So it does make a huge difference in just buying it from who you know and trust. Is going to probably get you, I would say 98% of the time, make sure you get that good quality.
And keep in mind, like, think about those big box stores. They're always a discount or a coupon available. So they're not purchasing the first quality of batting from the manufacturers. They're taking their second or their third qualities, and that's what they're selling you. So you're not going to have that same quality from a big box store that you're going to get from your trusted local quilt shop.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I mean, and all of us have different reasons why we pick the batting that we pick. So I mean, just as that the higher quality is just what's important. And there's some really good American made battings too. So if you want to keep it here in the United States, because I know that after COVID, that was a big deal for us to be able to even get batting, to have some good quality made in the USA batting. So I think that's another positive thing as well.
So fun fact, the people we buy our batting from live about 120 miles from me, maybe 100 miles. Anyway, I chose working with them. Number one, the batting they carry is made here in Texas. So that's important to me, right? Like, I like the fact that it's made in Texas. I love the quality. It's wonderful quality. We've been using it for years. And I meet them, or he brings it to my shop, or I meet them in a parking lot about
Your batting run.
It's the batting drop off. I always tell him this feels like a drug deal or something like. And I have a Yukon XL, so I lay all the seats flat, and we stuff that thing where there's barely enough room for me to sit in the car. So it's nice to be able to save on that shipping. Shipping on batting is a huge expense, which adds to the price for us. So I'm able to keep my prices on batting a little more competitive because I'm not having to pay for that extra shipping.
I think next time you do this, we need a picture.
Yeah, we need the Intel video.
Yeah, and sometimes David's like pushing the rolls in, and he's like, "Okay, push the button," and gets out of the way of the hatch just in time.
I love it. That's great.
Oh,
But yeah, let's quick touch on shipping for batting, because keep in mind, like, the shipping companies, UPS or whoever it's shipping through, even though that batting doesn't have a lot of physical weight to it because of its size, they're going to charge you at a dimensional weight.
yes.
So they might charge it at over 100 pounds because of its size, even though the batting itself weighs maybe 20 pounds. So just keep that in mind, that shipping is no fun for everyone, but that is usually why. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, we're getting off track. Let's go back to polyester batting. I love polyester batting. I have dogs. I have 3 dogs that sleep on my bed, so I need to wash that quilt a lot. So
Yeah.
I really like the 100% polyester battings. And like we were talking about loft, you can get it in all different thicknesses. So I will try anything at least one time. Maybe not like bugs. I won't eat bugs. I won't try that. But battings, I'll try anything at least one time. So I ordered the thickest polyester batting that I could get, and it was like a furnace filter. It was 2 inches thick. And then I thought to myself, how am I going to quilt this on my long arm? How much is that quilt going to shrink in as I'm quilting it, because that loft of that batting is so much thicker? So when I made that quilt top, I purposely made my borders massive. This quilt was like 140 when I finished piecing my borders on it, because it was for my king size bed. And I think I was 110 the other way, because I don't like all the pillow tuck stuff on the top. So I put this quilt on my long arm and I started quilting it. You should have seen how thick that was on my pickup roller bar by the time I got down towards the bottom. It was touching everywhere. Like, it was just massive on that pickup roller bar. But thankfully it's, fluffy, so it was able to move. My machine was able to do it. I quilted it on my 24-inch machine. By the time I got to my last row, I only had 8 inches left of my throat space because it was just so thick. And I was doing free motion, so I didn't have to try to like pre-plan that. But by the time I got that off the frame, I had lost 8 inches in the size I made the quilt. I had lost 8 inches of my quilt both ways. So that's also something to think about when you're choosing your batting how thick is that, and are you going to lose it? And then how thick is it? Are you going to be able to fit it on your machine too? But I absolutely love that quilt. It's still on my bed now. I've washed it a million times. The loft did go down, so it didn't hold its 2-inch thickness after washings and washings, but it is still really flexible. It cuddles around you a little better. So polyester batting is going to be a little more cuddly than stiff, like 100% cottons or 80/22. So yeah,
It's also very warm.
it's very warm.
Very warm.
Yeah. So Angie's in Wisconsin, remember? Those of us in South Texas would not have
No.
2-inch thick polyester batting. We would die of a heat stroke. Yeah. So, thinking about where your temperature, how warm you want that quilt is another reason. Are you picking polyester or not? Or like Angie talked about the different lofts, if you think polyester's a need for its durability, then maybe you want to go, and you're in a hotter climate, you go with the thinner loft, a good quality thinner loft, not the pull apart mess that, no.
Yeah, for sure. And also too, if you want to use different, because most of the times we use the same color bobbin and top thread. If you want to do a little bit of cheating and you want to add the different threads, because you got big contrast, the thicker the batting, the more you get to bury that connection and have a little bit of wiggle room. So
on your tension, yeah.
I would say my next favorite batting is bamboo. Ooh, I love bamboo. Have you guys used it?
Yes. It's very nice.
It's my summer quilt. So bamboo batting, think about like a bamboo sheet. They're going to be more cooling. It's just an amazing cooling batting. I have one quilt that I put 2 layers of bamboo batting in because we both like the weight, but we wanted that cooling effect. So that's the quilt that's on my bed for summertime because it does get hot in Wisconsin. We're like, I mean, it's nice today, but we get in the 90s and sometimes we'll hit 100, but 100% humidity.
2 days.
Yeah, for 2 days. But I absolutely love
2 days.
love the feel of that bamboo batting. It's also very like soft and flexible too, so it does like wrap around you and just feels like a hug.
It's great for baby quilts because it's just so soft. And now it comes in a blend as well.
Yeah. So 100% bamboo or 50% bamboo, 50% cotton from the company we get it from, Julie. Yep. Yeah.
And so that in South Texas is a great summer quilt. Like that 80/20 would be my winter quilt, and the bamboo is great for summer because it's a little, but it is 100%. Like the bamboo is a natural fiber as well, which makes that more breathable, just like your cotton. But how does it launder, Angie, compared to and shrinkage?
I didn't notice a lot of shrinkage. I don't have like the antique look on my quilt, and I wash that quilt a lot. I didn't notice the shrinkage, but it launders great. It dries really quick too in the dryer. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but this is the 100% bamboo batting. It's just so silky soft. I wish you could feel this. So you go to your quilt shop and just feel it.
We don't have feel-o-vision.
We don't, not yet. And I don't know if you can tell the difference, but this is the 50% bamboo, 50% cotton.
So it's a little thinner?
Just a little thinner. Yep. There's that better.
Yeah. Little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So what about layering those battings?
The best part.
I'll let y'all talk about that because I don't have a whole lot of experience with layering and combining, but do we have another fiber we want to talk about first and then talk about
wool? Yeah.
That is definitely the yummiest, I think, of all. I need to get some bamboo in, and I need to play because I love the wool when we're doing the custom quilting, and we want that really, if I'm going to take the time to do that definition work, I want to have that definition work be seen, right? Not just melt back into the fabric a little bit more. And I like to put 80/20 on the bottom and wool on the top if it's a cream color quilt. We didn't even talk about colors because most of these battings come in cream and white, and polyester comes also in black, which is another phenomenal if you want to bring those vivid colors out and you have mostly background. That's a wonderful color to deal with. But I love layering wool with the cream color fabrics or fabrics that, have zero white on it. I'll put poly on top of 80/20 if I have a white background to help with that definition. What about you, Angie?
Yeah. I also like that wool is very warm. So think about like a wool army blanket. Wool is going to be, it's a natural fiber, but it is going to be extremely warm. And wool is usually a little loftier. So that's why Cathy was saying if you are going to custom quilt where you're not quilting, that wool is going to keep that loft and that thickness and have it kind of puff up where you're not like really smashing it down.
Wool is more temperature regulating. Like it's kind of switches between being warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It naturally wicks the moisture and breathes. So it is a natural fiber, so it's going to breathe.
So that means it's great for humid areas like Wisconsin and Nebraska.
And Texas, just a little bit in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wool's my go-to.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
good.
Unless it's going to hang on the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want that look. But
that's a good reason. But that's a good reason to double layer if you're going to do a wall hanging, because you can get the stability of the 80/20 and then you can have the definition of the wool.
Right.
And keep in mind when they say washable wool, that means you can put water on it and wash it, but you can't put heat to it. Don't put that in the dryer on high heat because you will have a mess. I've seen a quilt that was only 100% wool batting in it. She gave it as a gift and the friend didn't know not to dry it. I think she, told her when she first gave it, but of course you don't think about that down the road, and she put it in the dryer on high heat and it was just like a jumbled, tumbled up, twisted mess of a quilt. There was no saving that. So you can put it on air fluff, hang it out to line dry, but just be careful not to put a lot of heat on the wool batting too.
Always read your care instructions on your batting. And if you get batting that's on the roll, sometimes it just has one little paper around the outside. It doesn't continuously go through there. Make sure you know what your care instructions are. And again, going back to that, who's it for? I don't think I would have given a person a gift that had wool batting in it that isn't a quilter that's not aware of how that needs to be cared for. It's just that first little question. I always say that first little question you need to ask yourself when choosing. But the instructions, even type up a little paper to go with that quilt so they can, have it put somewhere so when they forget how to launder it, if they have specific instructions, is a good tip too.
Yeah. Labels are great for that too. I'm not a quilt labeler.
Right.
I should be.
Stitch it into your label, care instructions,
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And there is another type of batting that I don't use very often, soy. Have you guys ever used that soy or silk batting, corn batting? I haven't tried any of that.
I
I
should.
have tried a silk batting. That was also very soft, but it's not something that we carry or use very often.
And price wise, I think,
Yeah.
we talked about the 80/20 being the most economical one. Well, polyester is too, but 80/20. But when you get into the bamboo and you get into the silk and all of that, that's a little pricier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be worth it. Think of batting. It is a very important, it's the inside. It keeps that quilt together and beautiful. So it is an important part to the quilt and it should have some thought.
And we talked briefly about how far apart our stitching needs to be, but it's important also to read those instructions because it will tell you, your stitching needs to be or can be up to 6 inches apart or 5 inches apart or whatever. Polyester can be even further apart. One type of batting that we didn't mention is not as frequently used in quilts, but sometimes it's used in smaller projects, which is fusible batting. So something like
Mhm.
fusible fleece. Um, it has adhesive on either one side or both sides, and it makes sandwiching the quilt together a lot easier, so you don't have to have pinning or spray basting. But like I said, that is a great thing to use when you're doing, maybe you're uh, doing your quilt as you go techniques, or you're doing small projects like table runners, placemats, things like that, that you can fuse together, and then you can quilt on your domestic uh, bags. It works great in bags as well.
And I've made like a casserole carrier with that Insulbright. Is that what it's called? The
Yeah,
insulated batting, the heat
has
batting.
has that like layer of some product that holds the warmth.
Hmm.
You also need to think about when you're making things like the little bowl koozies and anything that's might go in the microwave. You want to make sure that you're using batting that is specifically made for that. Um,
Yes.
is 100% cotton batting, but you do not want to use the 100% cotton batting that has scrim on it
Mm-mm.
for putting it in the microwave. So there is a particular type of batting made for those type of uses that you're going to use in the microwave. So be aware of that.
We don't want you burning down your house.
No.
No polyester in the microwave ever at all, even your threads and then that
Yes,
batting too.
100% cotton thread when you make
Yeah.
that stuff.
And keep in mind, any of these you can use on your long arm too, or like you said your domestic machine. Um, I love experimenting and trying, and that's my biggest tip is just make sure you try the stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a lot of fun. And I think placemats are the perfect like example to have like samples to show your customer. If you're doing a long arm business, do a little stitch out on the same design on the different battings, and maybe the same fabric, but different battings. And that way you have a great, you can show them what the different battings, how the stitch out looks different or the same.
There
Mhm.
is another one for projects that we didn't touch on too that I just thought about, and that is the foam type batting. And
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
some right here.
Yeah.
Let me
It's one of my favorites.
Mhm.
pull it out of my. Here's a small piece. So this foam, and it comes. Get the right in the camera. Where are we going?
There you
Okay.
go.
So the foam, it is actually foam. So it is thicker, but I love using this in bags, but I have also seen placemats made with this that is
Mhm.
really nice.
Mhm.
So that is another product, and it comes either with no fusible or fusible on one or both sides.
But
Different
it's
hands do it different ways.
but it's very stable.
It
Mhm.
is very stable,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, there's going to be the difference.
it gives those bags body. Here's
Mhm.
something that I quilted. Let me see if I can get a small piece out.
I've even loaded that foam batting straight to the long arm with no backing and
Yep.
done some quilting on it. So that's how stable it is. So it's
Yep.
really
Yeah.
wonderful.
So it just gives it such um,
Shape.
structure.
Structure. Yeah. Yep.
Structure. So when you're doing any kind of bag, so this is, I couldn't hold a piece of regularly quilted fabric like this and it stands straight. This is quilted with that foam in the middle. And the I use, like I said, in a lot of bags, I use that. You can, that is something that, surprises my long armors when we talk about it. They're like, you can, I could just quilt that on my long arm. And I'm like, yeah, you can.
Mhm.
So it is a wonderful, I love this foam batting as well.
Mhm.
Hint,
Yeah.
hint, it might be, it's used in lots of good projects, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
So
Good.
batting is one of those things that we take, I guess, for granted, that we just we don't think about it as often as we should, but that is something you spent a lot of time and money in making that quilt top or going into that project. you want to make sure that you're using the right batting to get the end results that you want.
And that's why we ask the questions. It's not judgment or anything. It's just asking those questions. And if, you go somewhere and your long armor's not asking those questions, bring it up to her and be like, hey, I heard this in a podcast. What are your thoughts on this? And you can do research too. This is just what we love because we've tried it, but you'll find the battings that you love the most, and don't be afraid to change and experiment.
Yeah.
Right.
Give it
Good. Anything else we need to mention about batting, ladies?
I cannot think of any other than one thing we didn't. You talked briefly about package batting. So I feel like most of the quilters that don't own long arms are going to buy package batting. Or if your long armor requires you to bring your batting to her, that is typically always a package batting. We as long armors carry batting on the roll. So we buy it either, the most common width is 96-inch wide. And it comes on a big old roll that has like 25 or 30 yards on it. And then you can also get it 120 inches wide. But if you have the place to buy it by the roll, that is your best option versus package batting, unless you're doing something that, okay, I want to try that bamboo. I want to, use bamboo, but I'm not going to buy a whole roll of bamboo. I want to use it just on this quilt. Package batting is great for a lot of reasons. Don't get me wrong. But if you're doing a lot of 80-20, you're making a lot of quilts, and you want to buy it by the roll, that's probably your most your most cost efficient way to do it, and it cuts down on waste. So that's something to think about when you're looking at batting. If you have space to have a roll, talk to your quilt shop about, some quilt shops don't carry rolls all the time, but I bet they could get you one.
So. Absolutely.
And when you said waste, that light bulb for me, Franken batting.
Yes.
Yes. So if you've got all these batting scraps and extra pieces from all your other quilt projects, don't be afraid to put those together and make a Franken batting. You do want to make sure, though, that you're paying attention to the right and the wrong side of that batting and making sure that all of the right sides of the batting are facing up. So pimples and dimples. I think we mentioned it on one of our previous podcasts, but like Julie was saying, the batting gets needle punched, so those needles are pushing through. So you want to look and find those little dimples, those indents for where those needles push.
Dimples are pretty. You want them up.
Yes. So find those indents, make sure that all your dimples are at the top. And when those needles push through, sometimes you'll get the pilly part or the pimples. We want all of those facing down. So when you are putting Franken batting pieces together, make sure you're watching for the dimples and pimples to keep them all the same way.
And make sure that you're putting the same types of batting together. You don't want to put cotton and then 80-20, because when you wash that quilt, it's going to shrink differently in different places.
And what do you guys like to use to put your batting together? How do you like to do that?
I like the fusible tape.
Me too.
Some people zigzag it.
Yeah, I mean, zigzagging takes a little bit more time. If you have time and that makes you happy and you want to just hear your sewing machine run and makes your heart and soul beautiful, go for it. If you're going to be like me and I'm going to be like, whoop, I want it done.
Yeah.
And some people, I've seen them add it to their quilt while it's on the long arm, and they don't even attach it together. They cut a wavy line and let it nest together and then just quilt over it. So it's kind of just your option of how you put that together. But like Angie said, don't be afraid to use those leftover pieces to put together, especially if it's, a quilt that's going to be used and loved, and it's not an art quilt. Utilize those leftover pieces.
Absolutely. I mean, because quilters are the best MacGyvers and all of that good stuff, right? Like we're going to use every ounce of everything. But at some point, just remember batting, when it hangs out together, multiplies like little bunnies. So sometimes it is okay to donate to maybe a guild or donate to somebody that will use the Frankenbat for the quilts for their charity. So it's okay to donate. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's all I can think of. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I don't.
Okay. It's
I
funny start talking about a subject and then we think we have all of our points kind of laid out before we start the podcast. And then the things pop up and you're like, oh, I forgot about that. And oh, I forgot about that. But
that's why I like talking to you ladies about it, because we can think about those things and those triggers. I love it. So I'm hoping we trigger some great thoughts for people who are listening.
yeah.
Mhm.
But until next time.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. We'd love to hear your feedback too. If you have any questions about some of the things that we've said, don't forget you can email us info@quiltingcentralpodcast.com. A lot of people have reached out and said that the email's not working, but they're forgetting to put that podcast part. They were just putting info@Quilting Central. So make sure you're putting info@quiltingcentralpodcast.com. And then you can check us out on all of our social medias. We'd love to hear from you. I do have a listener that had sent in an email that said we could highlight, but this episode's getting a little long, so maybe we'll save that for a future episode.
Sounds
Awesome.
amazing. All right, guys, keep quilting and just have fun using your batting.
Yeah.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us here at the Quilting Central Podcast. We've had an amazing time today sharing today's quilting stories, tips, and ideas with you.
Absolutely. Whether you're stitching your first quilt or your 50th, we're so glad to have you as part of this wonderful quilting community.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's chat, we'd love it if you could leave us a review or share the podcast with a fellow quilter.
You can also find us on social media for more quilting inspiration, updates, and even behind the scenes fun.
And remember to send your quilting questions or stories our way. We love hearing from you. You might even be featured in a future episode.
Until next time, keep stitching, keep creating, and keep spreading the love of one quilt at a time. Bye for now.
Happy quilting!
Happy quilting!
Happy quilting!